All right, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the spring edition of the Water Quality Advisory Work Group put on by the Water Quality Division here at the TCEQ. My name is Greg Easley. I'm going to be moderating today's meeting and got several of my colleagues here at the table that we'll go through and introduce here in just a moment, but just go through a few items first before we do that. As you'll see in the meeting agenda for today, we've got several topics and subjects that we want to cover and talk about. And the basic protocol is we'll go through each topic one at a time. Once we're done with each one, we'll pause for any questions that anyone might have and try to answer those questions and move on to the next topic and so forth. If you're here in person, you can simply just speak up or raise your hand if you have any questions. For those of you online, unfortunately, we won't be able to hear you, but we would ask you to type in your questions into the chat box there in the Microsoft Teams application, and we'll get to them as you submit those. And if you think of a question later on in the meeting, there's also a final opportunity for questions and answers near the end of the meeting. So you can save those questions for then. And just to remind everyone, we are recording today's meeting, and the recording will be made available on our Water Quality Advisory Work Group webpage, as well as a summary of the meeting, and that will be posted a little after we're done here today. And so let me now go ahead and introduce, or have folks here at the table introduce themselves. I'll start to my right.
Hi, my name is Bridget Malone. I'm the technical specialist for water quality.
Good afternoon. My name is Mike Applin. I'm a technical specialist also in the Water Quality Division.
Hey, my name is Benjamin Dixon. I'm a permit writer on the stormwater permits team.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jesse Grasalamia. I'm a permit writer with TCEQ.
All right. And you'll notice that some of the presenters on the agenda aren't here. We are still covering those topics. It'll just be different folks doing that. So no need to worry about anything that's going to get skipped. So we'll go ahead and get started on the agenda, starting with the permitting program updates. And we have several legislative updates to provide for you. And I'll start those off specifically with House Bill 3333, which became effective back on September 1st, 2025. This, or at least the new Texas Water Code statute that was created by this bill, prohibits the TCEQ from issuing a new permit for any domestic or industrial wastewater treatment facility to discharge into the Devil's River or any other water bodies within the river's drainage area in Val Verde County. The bill does not affect the issuance of general or individual permits for municipal separate storm sewer systems or general permits for stormwater and associated non-stormwater discharges. The statute applies to permit applications that were received on or after September 1st, 2025. And as I've mentioned previously in these meetings, we are exploring several additional activities related to this bill. The legislation did not require any rulemaking or related activities, but we are exploring the possibility of adding to our existing watershed protection rules in Chapter 311, as well as making reference to the legislation in our permitting guidance document, otherwise known as the procedures to implement the Texas Surface Water Quality Standards. So contemplating those activities just to increase awareness of the legislation, and we'll continue to provide updates on these activities as we go forward. So that's the update for House Bill 3333. Any questions on that? Okay, seeing none, move on to Mike for a couple other updates.
Okay, just a real quick one on House Bill 609, oyster mariculture. That bill became effective September 1st, 2025. It allows cleaning of a structure used to grow oysters, cultivated oyster mariculture in or over water in the state. General permit TXG 130000 was revised to allow this activity. The revision to implement House Bill 609 and the general permit renewal of TXG 130000, along with other minor updates, was presented at the TCEQ agenda February 11th, 2026, and approved by the commissioners. Additional information about this TXG 13 will be discussed a little later as part of the general permit updates. Any questions on that?
Not seeing any.
Okay, next I'm going to talk about Senate Bill 1302, which has to do with general permit eligibility requirements. This bill amended section 26.040 of the Texas Water Code by adding two new subsections, H1 and H2. Beginning September 1st, 2025, those new subsections prohibit an entity that has been denied or had suspended a general permit due to an unsatisfactory compliance history rating from eligibility to get or renew a general permit unless the executive director actively authorizes the discharger to use the general permit. In addition, it prohibits the TCEQ from using an automated process to grant a discharger such an authorization. Today's update is very similar to the one we provided last meeting. We're implementing this change by amending Chapter 205 of the Texas Administrative Code to mirror the Texas Water Code requirements, amending the 17 general permits with the new requirements in a phased-in approach as each comes up for its 5-year renewal, and updating existing agency technology tools to facilitate the change. Water Quality Division staff are currently working on this project with the current goal to have the rule changes adopted in January of 2027.
Any questions on that? Okay.
Okay, now the next two I'm going over, these are ones that Shannon Gibson was going to present on, and she is available if there's questions, but I'm going to go through these four since she wasn't able to be here in person. Senate Bill 1145, produced water land application permitting. This bill amended the Texas Water Code section 26.131 to transfer authority from the Railroad Commission of Texas to TCEQ to issue permits for the land application of water produced from certain mining and oil and gas extraction operations. The bill requires TCEQ to establish a new permitting program and application review process. To support the new program, TCEQ will develop application forms, SOPs, and regulatory guidance. TCEQ has received permit files and pilot study files from the Railroad Commission and is beginning to review those files as well. TCEQ will conduct rulemaking to implement the requirements of this bill. Specifically, TCEQ has initiated a rulemaking to update the Memorandum of Understanding between the Railroad Commission of Texas and the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality, located under Section 7.117 of the Administrative Code, to transfer permitting authority from the Railroad Commission to TCEQ for the land application of water produced from certain mining and oil and gas extraction operations. In addition to Senate Bill 1145, this rulemaking will also implement the following bills from previous legislative sessions. Senate Bill 786 from the 88th Texas Legislature from 2023, which added Texas Water Code 27.037, jurisdiction over closed-loop geothermal injection wells, defining closed-loop geothermal injection well and transferring jurisdiction of closed-loop geothermal injection wells from TCEQ to the Railroad Commission. Senate Bill 1186 from the 88th Texas Legislature in 2023, which granted Railroad Commission jurisdiction over brine mining, added a definition of brine mining, and clarified that Railroad Commission jurisdiction includes the authority to regulate both brine production wells and brine injection wells, and instructed Railroad Commission to seek delegation of EPA authority for this type of Class 5 injection well. And House Bill 1284 from the 87th Texas Legislature in 2021, which consolidated the jurisdiction over onshore and offshore Class 6 injection wells used for geologic sequestration and storage of carbon dioxide or CO2 solely to the Railroad Commission once primacy of this permitting program is obtained from EPA, and required TCEQ to issue a letter of determination to the applicant who is pursuing a Class 6 CO2 authorization from the Railroad Commission. Now, that's a lot to go over there. But TCEQ anticipates taking this rulemaking before the commissioners for proposal this summer, September of 2026, and for adoption next summer in September of 2027. Additionally, TCEQ has initiated a second rulemaking to implement Senate Bill 1145 to amend 30 TAC Chapter 309 related to domestic wastewater effluent limitations and plant siting to clarify applicability and requirements for land application of produced water. This rulemaking proposes to rename the title of Chapter 309 to Wastewater Effluent Limitations and Plant Siting. The second rulemaking will also amend 30 TAC Chapter 210 relating to use of reclaimed water to ensure that produced water that has been treated for beneficial use may be used as an industrial reclaimed water source. TCEQ is taking this rulemaking before the commissioners to proposal later this month on April 30th, 2026, and we anticipate adoption next summer in August of 2027. Proposal documents for this rulemaking are available for viewing and download through the commissioners' integrated database.
All right. Any questions on that? Okay.
And then one more here for me, Senate Bill 2307 on expedited LNG permits. This bill amended the Texas Water Code to establish an expedited permit application review and contested case procedures for environmental permits involving a project to construct or modify a liquefied natural gas export terminal, as well as authorized a fee. The bill requires TCEQ to establish a new expedited permitting program and application review process. To support the new program, TCEQ will develop application forms, SOPs, and regulatory guidance. TCEQ is initiating a rulemaking to implement the requirements of this bill. Specifically, TCEQ is proposing to amend 30 TAC Chapter 318 to add new subchapter E, general requirements for liquefied natural gas export terminal discharges, to establish an expedited permitting program for LNG terminals. This rulemaking will also rename the chapter to expedited water quality permits from marine seawater desalinization discharges for consistency with the topics of the subchapters, including new subchapter E. The rulemaking would also amend 30 TAC Chapters 39, 55, and 80 as necessary to implement the new public notice and its CCH requirements, as well as the 120-day response to comment deadline. TCEQ anticipates taking this rulemaking before the commissioners for proposal this summer in August of 2026 and for adoption next spring and February of 2027.
Okay. Questions so far? All right. We'll shift over now to Homeland Security related updates with Bridget.
Thank you. So as everyone kind of is aware of, hurricane season starts in June. And we send out those annual notifications to y'all to go ahead and update your emergency contact information within the steers. So this is just a reminder to go ahead and get that done. That way we'll be prepared for, hurricane season and any sort of disaster that may come up. We'll have those emergency contacts and any updates to the type of critical infrastructure at your facility. The main update is that right now we are still doing the email notifications and the mail outs. So if you have not gotten one of those, you probably have incorrect information in steers. So go ahead and update it, or you can contact us directly if you need assistance. We are hoping to transition to email notifications moving forward because we think that will provide an actual better way to contact people during an actual emergency. So next year, we're hoping to just kind of go with the email notifications. So make sure you have good information, make sure your email's correct. We do have people that put in the wrong information so they don't get any updates. And just look for that next year to just getting those email notifications. And also a reminder that you don't have to wait for us to update that information. The steers account is available year round. So, if you have a new contact, transfer of ownership, your site gets built, launch latitude, you're adding some lift stations, taking some out. You can go ahead and use that security code that we provide and update that information year round as well. So again, if you have any questions, you can reach out to me directly or contact our main line, 512-239-4671. You can also email homeland@tceq.texas.gov as well.
All right. Thank you, Bridget. Anyone have any questions for Bridget?
I want to make a correction to something Shannon just said.
Okay. Yeah, we also got a quick correction to give from Mike here.
Yeah, just the very end of Senate Bill 1145 update, I had said that the time frame for adoption was summer of 2027. It's actually this summer, 2026.
Okay.
So I wanted to make that correction.
Thank you, Mike. All right. Seeing no questions at this time, we'll go ahead and go to our next topic here, which is actually going to be an overview of the Texas Wastewater Optimization Program. And this is going to be presented by Wenji Sun, who is actually online right now. He's in the Water Supply Division. And I will turn it over to you, Wenji.
Okay, can you hear me, Greg?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay, yeah, so I will turn on my camera and give the presentation to introduce my wastewater program. But after that, I'll open my turn on my camera and take any question, comments. All right, let me set up. Just a quick check, Greg. Can you see my share slide?
Yes, we're seeing it.
Okay, all right. Good afternoon. My name is Wenji Sun. I'm the team leader for the Innovative Source and Treatment team within the Water Supply Division. So I appreciate the invitation from Greg and our Water Quality Division colleague to give a time, have a brief introduction about our wastewater tax optimization program we call Wastewater Top. All right, so a little bit background on my team. So the Innovative Source and Treatment team is actually recently created and located in our Water Supply Division. So the mission of our team is really to protect tax water quality, public health, while delivering responsive and the technical assistance and providing tools that support public water system, wastewater treatment plant, and water reuse. So basically, you can see my team actually housing two different programs. And first one is the wastewater top. I'm gonna spend the rest of my presentation to introduce the wastewater top. And the other program is the innovative and alternative training program, which really is the conduct technical review and assistance for innovative alternative treatment for the public water system. So basically, my team cover both the wastewater and the drinking water side. But today I will focus on the wastewater top program. And because the unique, structure for our team cover both water and wastewater. So here is the organizing chart for my team within the Water Supply Division. So, I should change my point. Give me a second. Okay, so this one is good. So my team right now is under directly the division management by our assistant deputy director, Gulai Aki. And she manages two different sessions plus my team. And also, it's probably, if you don't know, but most people working on the drinking water know we have a sister program called Texas Optimizing Program Top. Basically, I can call them a drinking water top, and our new team is actually the wastewater top. Okay, so a little bit overview about the wastewater top. And so far, my team, including myself, we have two, natural resource specialists, and both they are very experienced former investigator in different regions. So Chad has been in our serve our TCEQ for more than 13 years and located in Beaumont region. And Lisa Fisher, she is the our former investigator in the Tyler region. And beside the investigator, Lisa have a strong experience to provide a technical assistance to our wastewater treatment plant operator, as well as investigator in multiple regions. And a little bit advertisement, we have one engineer 3 is open to be filled, and right now it's posted on our job site. And the basic requirement is the PE and with certain year of experience. If anyone interested, feel free to fill out the application. In addition, the full-time stuff in the wastewater top. And we also are working on some contract with the FMT and through the Texas Rural Water Association, as well as the UT Arlington. So we can utilize some additional sources of stuff to help us working on the assignment associated with the wastewater top. As I mentioned, right now, the wastewater top is managed directly by our assistant deputy director, Gulai, within the Water Supply Division. And the wastewater top was funded through our Clean Water State Revolve Fund. And this is under a special 5-year grant managed by the EPA. So the initial priority for our wastewater top is focused on the small wastewater treatment plant. So basic criteria is serve population less than 10,000 people, or the treatment capacity less than 1 MGD, million gallon per day. And the current status for the program development is we have our wastewater crop is pending for review and approved by TCEQ, and eventually will submit it to EPA for review and approval. Okay, so this is flow chart, kind of give you the major principle and relate to the mission our wastewater top. And basically we say wastewater top provides non-cost technical assistance and training to support our wastewater treatment plant in the state of Texas. So the first, principle is we provide technical training and education, and to adequate our wastewater operator and management to be prevent any issue related to their operation for wastewater treatment plant. And we also assist wastewater treatment operator and to meet or ensure the compliance with the state and federal regulation. We continue to assess the wastewater treatment process and to help the wastewater treatment operation to improve their treatment efficiency, the optimization, as well as for the cost saving. We also offer the practical guidance for wastewater treatment plant if they are, looking for select or implementing some advanced technology. So eventually, we will continue to deliver ongoing support to our wastewater treatment plant in the state of Texas for the assess of managing the wastewater. So we can see the ultimate goal for the wastewater top is really enhance technical, managerial, and financial capacity to operate wastewater treatment plant effectively, efficiently, and protect our water quality and improve the compliance with state and federal regulations. Okay, so in order for our program to really provide this more accurate, effective technical assistance and training, we actually is in the process to developing multiple tools which can help us to serve our wastewater treatment plant. Today, we're going to give you a couple examples. Not all the tool we are planning work, but just a couple examples is under development. So we actually prepare and purchasing some field scale monitoring equipment, which have been utilized by EPA approved methodology. We also have the basic, control equipment widely accepted by follow the industrial standards. Besides, in addition to the field sampling analyze capacity, we also try to working on including some wastewater process simulation software to give us additional simulation tools to evaluate the wastewater treatment process. We also working on 20 plus process control workbook, which can offer the real-time data analysis interpretation as well as the recommendation to our operator through the on-site meeting or activity. And one of the major priorities for our program is to develop its direct assistant module, which is the technical training, as I mentioned earlier, as one of the top priority principle for our program. And also, we are working on a centralized, consolidated database for the wastewater treatment plant in state of Texas. I won't have time to go over everything in details, but I would like just kind of give an example for the tool we are currently developing and help us provide the assistance in the near future. Okay, so this slide and next slide just kind of give you a list about the field equipment, instrument. We are right now prepared to incorporate it into our program. For example, we can measure DO, pH meter, oxidation reduction potential. We also have multiple, the equipment. We can measure other, major wastewater characteristics or parameters that's, significant as the indication for the wastewater treatment process. So including ammonia, nitrogen nitrite, chlorine species related to the disinfection. And we also have some equipment can work directly on the sludge related activity like sludge calculation and sludge management. We also plan to set up the microscope, which help us to analyze the microbial, which is the essential part for our biological wastewater treatment unit. Before I move on to the simulation software, I want to mention, even we are not have any analytical lab service including in our program, but we know definitely they're going to have some additional analyze, take time or require, specific equipment or laboratory equipment. So in that case, we'll have some contract available to TCEQ approved and Nylon certified lab for our analytical purpose. Okay, in addition to this field scale sampling analysis, we also try to incorporate the simulation software. So the BioWin is one of the powerful wastewater treatment process simulation software, has been widely used in the design or engineers industry. And the advantage for the BioWin is they build up the program utilizing actual operational, laboratory, and historical data. And they have the capability to predict biological, chemical, and physical system under varying loading and environment condition. So in this case, by encrypt with the BioWin simulation software, it's help us to mitigate the need is we have to physically change the treatment unit, have to physically change the operation parameter in our wastewater treatment plant. But in reality, there have some significant difficulty. And also sometimes it's impossible if we change the current operation will affect the wastewater treatment efficiency. But with this simulation software, it's allow our wastewater top and with the capability to access the treatment efficiency and troubleshooting the process upset in a simulated environment. And also we can provide assessment about the potential effectiveness of the operational process alternative prior any implementation, for example, construction or change your treatment train. And also this simulation provide the more versatile output if we want to provide some training to our operators. So for example, I shown the picture, you can change different wastewater process parameter. They can give you the visualize the data to see how this impact on the performance. And the last part of the benefit I'm listing here, potentially our water quality division, manage the design technical review or the permitting review. And this software also can provide some, tools if we want looking for the impact or potential, outcome related to the new or upgraded facility designs. Okay, so let me just. Oh, I cannot do it. This slide kind of give you a couple examples about the on-site process, control workbook. So basically, is our team member, go to the on-site. We can using the wastewater treatment existing data, or we collect data by ourselves, and we can simply put in this workbook, and we can using the integrated calculation to have the output as a result to share with operator, and we can interpret the result and provide any recommendation related to the operation of the wastewater treatment plant. And we have been working on 20 plus different workbook, and including the process control for engineered system, natural system like the lagoon and wastewater disinfection, and a touch growth system, pump, and lift station. In the coming slide, I'll give a few examples how it look like for our process work. So this is the one example is we are working on the biological treatment process. It's very important we understand the food to microbial ratio. So in this case, this is one of the workbook, and we can input the data in our worksheet and automatically calculate the foot to micro ratio. At the same time, there the instruction how to using this worksheet, and also there the guidance is what's the interpretation about the outcome and from this worksheet. So this is really give the direct assistance to our staff for the on-site technical assistance, but also this can be a workbook utilized for our wastewater operator and for their routine data collection and analyze, and also for their records. And this is another example for the sludge settling property measurement. So basically you can put the data and we can automatically have the graph integrated in this workbook. And also we can have the standard shape, for different type, the settling property for wastewater. You can compare with the standard curve and identify, if you're a sludge within the good condition or not good condition. And also we give the guidance is what you can do to continue monitoring your sludge performance and give any indication if further action must be taken to prevent any, further issue related to the sludge operation. Okay, so this slide gives you the general, introduction about the directed assessment module. As I mentioned earlier, this is actually our first principle by provide technical training to our wastewater operator as well as the manager, so they can really, increasing their skill, their hands-on skill, their knowledge, and to operate their wastewater treatment plant more efficiency. So hopefully they can prevent any future problem associated with their plant. So we have a long list we call dam development. So right now we come on idea with about maybe 15 to 16 dam, for a long-term program development. But for within the first year, and here is the 4 top priority dam we are in a process to develop. We have some entry level about the basic mass calculation for operator, and we have the training for chemical dosage, and through the entire wastewater treatment plant, we had a wastewater disinfection, and also the active sludge 101. We know the active sludge is the most common using the biological treatment process, especially in our small wastewater treatment plant, which is the main focus for this initial program operation. Okay, so the last one I want to introduce is we are working on a wastewater database in the state of Texas across 6 regions managed by our TCEQ. And right now we call our database is WISE-1 database, and the full name is Wastewater Information System and Evaluation Optimization Navigation Engine. A really long name, but we like the short name is because they can, meet our agency goal is the one strategy for both wastewater and our drinking water. And so currently our WISE-1 database is Excel spreadsheet based, database. And we actually right now divided by each one of the 16 region, and to establish this database. And we create a database by review the data, and from the EPA ACO, TCEQ Central Registry, or TCEQ other database related to the wastewater operation, or the treated effluent discharge database, and also we understand their limitation our database, because Excel database is not very efficiency for the update, but for the current stage we feel like this Excel database really provide us the baseline foundation and to collect the basic information about wastewater treatment plant in the state of Texas. And in the future, if we receive any specific technical assistance request, we also have our own very detailed specific questionnaire, and complement with our baseline database to collect the more accurate data for each unique wastewater treatment plant. And I will, next couple slides will just give you how to look at for our database. As I mentioned, it's Excel-based database. We're including the basic wastewater treatment plant information. We have the geological information, and as I mentioned earlier, our initial priority is focused on the small wastewater treatment plant. So we have the estimate the flow and estimate the population. So we can based on the capacity or based on the population. And also for this database, we try to identify the basic treatment unit in each of the wastewater treatment plant, from the source water collection lift station until the physical, biological, or chemical treatment, and eventually the disinfection before they are meet our regulation and discharged to our state water body. And also in our database, we have the direct link to the database where we extract the data and to create our database. So in this case, we don't really need to go each individual database and search for each unique wastewater treatment plant. So we have the internal link and build up in our Excel-based worksheet. Okay, so I think I just give you a brief update about our wastewater program. And the last slide I just want to say here is the wastewater top, project box. If you have any technical assistance and training requests, and you can submit your request to the wastewater top box. And just a little bit, the a head up is, as I mentioned earlier, our program COP is still under review by TCEQ, and subsequent will submit to the EPA for review and approval. So in this case, we have the limitation for the external technical assistance and training, but always at least my contact email and my team staff email here if you have any general question related to the wastewater operation and think about our program can be any sources for any level or technical assistance, feel free to reach us. So I'll stop here and turn on my camera. If anyone have any special question, I'm more than happy to answer. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Wenji. Anyone have any questions for Wenji? Oh, yes. Right.
Maybe a question and a comment. Have you all coordinated with small business and local government assistance and the rural ombudsman to help spread the word and maybe help collaborate?
Yeah, thank you so much. That's a really good point. We understand they have this, they're little bit overlap of the goal. And we have been in the communication. We actually, a couple months ago, we had a meeting organized by the Office Water and OCE, and to see how we form some partnership to, communicate about technical assistance requests and how to provide the effective technical assistance. So we are still working on some formal partnership, but we know each other and we share some sources. So for example, and their FMD contract, they actually have been utilized by them, and also potentially is used by our program to provide the service. Thank you.
Any other questions for Wenji? Okay, well, I'm not seeing any other questions right now. We really appreciate the presentation, Wenji.
All right, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you. Take care. All right, well, I guess we will now move over to our general permit updates, and I'll turn it over to Mike for a couple of updates.
So first, getting back to the, I mentioned earlier, aquacultural general permit, TXG 130000. That one is, as I said before, was renewed and amended, and it authorizes discharges from an aquaculture facility or a related aquaculture activity. The new renewal will replace the current permit when it expires on April 18th, 2026, which is just next week. Significant changes. Well, actually, the end of this week, really, isn't it? Yeah. Significant changes to the general permit include revising the definition of wastewater to include water from the washdown, cleaning and flushing of sorters and tumblers, types of processing equipment now commonly used in oyster mariculture, revising Part 3 to allow Level 5 facilities, i.e. oyster mariculture, to clean system components in or over water in the state. No public comments were received during the public notice process. The amended permit was adopted at the Commissioner's agenda on February 11th, 2026. The new aquaculture general permit will replace the existing aquaculture general permit at the end of this week when it expires on April 18th, 2026. Following permit reissuance, a notification will be sent to all active permittees, notifying them they must renew their authorization within 90 days of the effective date of the reissued permit. And just for information, currently there are 56 facilities authorized under the existing general permit by notice of intent submittal, and we don't anticipate a significant number of additional notices of intent from this action.
All right. Any questions on the aquaculture general permit? All right.
And then the next one I'm going to go over is the concrete batch general permit, TXG 110000. TCEQ is proposing to renew the concrete batch general permit, which authorizes discharges from ready mixed concrete plants, concrete products plants, and their associated facilities. The amendment with the renewal will replace the current permit when it expires on November 7th, 2026. EPA reviewed the draft permit package and provided approval in a letter dated January 9th, 2026. Notice was published in the Houston Chronicle and Texas Register on March 27th. A hybrid in-person online public meeting will be held on April 27th, 2026 at the TCEQ and virtually on MS Teams. The public comment period will close at the end of that day on April 27th. The next steps include developing TCEQ responses to comments, making any necessary revisions to the draft permit, and moving toward finalizing the adoption documents.
All right. Any questions on the concrete batch general permit?
Time will the comment hearing be on for April 27th?
I think it's in the morning. I think it's at 9 or 9:30, and then it's open until the end of the day. Or is it close of business that day or the end of the day that day?
It's usually close of business.
Close of business on that day.
All right. I'll move on to the next general permit update. Brian Sarant wasn't able to be here today, so I'm going to give the update on the pesticides general permit. So TCEQ is proposing to renew and amend the pesticide general permit, or PGP for short. It's permit number TXG 870000. It authorizes the application of pesticides into, over, or near waters of the United States for the control of mosquitoes, other insects, vegetation and algae, and other animal pests. The current PGP expires on November 2nd, 2026. The proposed amendments are for achieving consistency with the EPA NPDES pesticides general permit. And these changes would involve three things. It would require level 1A operators to document visual evaluation and additional monitoring of the treatment area. Two, it would keep those operators must keep pre and post application records of the visual evaluation. And then thirdly, it requires level 1 operators to sign the pesticide discharge management plan in accordance with 30 Texas Administrative Code, section 305.44. The TCEQ published notice of the draft PGP to solicit public comment in the Houston Chronicle and the Texas Register back on January 23rd, 2026. We held two public meetings, one on February 23rd, 2026 and March 17th, 2026. So the comment period is now closed, and we received comments from 5 separate entities, and we are currently developing the response to comments that will be made available once the document is finalized. Any questions on the pesticides general permit update? All right. Well, then I will turn it over to Jesse then for some stormwater permit updates.
Hi, good afternoon. So I'll be stepping in for Rebecca as well, as she's out today, to cover the phase 2 MS4 general permit application and annual reports update. This general permit regulates the stormwater discharges from phase 2 or small MS4s located in regulated urban areas with a population of 50,000 or more. It was renewed on August 15th of 2024. We're currently reviewing renewal and new applications. The deadline to submit those applications was on February 11th of 2025. Applications were all submitted via the Texas Net MS4 application system developed by EPA. If you have submitted an application, you would have gotten one of 3 notices. One is a denial, which is actually a notice of deficiency. If you receive a notification from the Net MS4 system that your application has been denied, you will need to address TCEQ's comments and resubmit your application. And this will appear as a new NOI submittal in Net MS4. However, we are still honoring the original submission date. You'll also be in communication with one of our permit writers for any questions, updates, or comments that were as a result of the application review. The third is a denial, which is an actual denial. I don't believe we've been seeing many of these. However, these are typically a result of the incorrect application type, whether maybe you applied for a waiver and were ineligible for the waiver, an unsatisfactory compliance history rating, any outstanding fees or unpaid delinquent fees, as well as I mentioned earlier, the waiver eligibility was not met due to population criteria or MS4 discharges to a water body with an improved TMDL. The third notice is approval. You will receive confirmation from the Net MS4 system that your application has been approved. A letter and certificate will be sent automatically as an email from the Net MS4 system. As of today, the status of the applications are as follows. We have approved about 387 NOIs. That's about 60% of the universe. And currently the submitted applications, these are the ones that are on hold for NOIs and waivers is 268. This is in consideration with the fact that about 95% of the MS4 applications reviewed have required at least one round of NODs. The notice of deficiencies, as mentioned earlier, where comments or any corrections need to be addressed. In some cases, we've seen a second or even a third round. Once approved, the MS4s are required to begin the implementation of the renewed or new authorization and their 2024 Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan and the associated BMP. They're also required to begin tracking and measuring the activities of those BMPs. Changes to information in the NOI or waiver after receiving approval can be made by submitting a notice of change through the Net MS4 system. Moving forward with the reporting period. The first reporting period that we are currently right now is for the calendar year of January 1st through December 31st of this year. This is a blanket requirement for all MS4s under the 2024 general permit. However, there is some kind of nuances with that. If you're still under the 2019 general permit, that year ends when you receive approval of your renewal application. And for the 2024 general permit cycle, year 1 will begin the day that you receive approval of your new or renewal application. With the annual reports, the development of the annual report module in Texas Net MS4 system has been paused by EPA since April of 2025 due to limited resources. At the moment, it is unknown when EPA will be able to resume the development of that annual report system. Annual reports under the 2024 general permit term will not be submitted electronically until further notice by TCEQ. If you are under the 2019 general permit cycle, please continue to report via paper, hard copy using the 2019 report template until your application is approved by TCEQ. I think I might have misspoke. If you're under the 2019 general permit cycle, use the 2019 annual report template. If you're under the 2024 general permit cycle, continue to report via paper, hard copy using the newly revised 2024 annual report template. Duly authorized representatives may be designated in Net MS4 to sign annual reports. They must meet the requirements of 30 TAC 305.128. in relation to signatories to report and submit the form prior to submitting your annual report to TCEQ. And that's all the updates that I have for the Phase 2 MS4 general permit. I can pause for questions, comments, or move forward with the topic.
Yes.
Yes.
I was curious, is there a target date or a deadline for the resolution of the 260 or so that are on hold?
At the moment, I can't provide a deadline. I think that's something that's maybe a little bit another tier above me. But we are actively still, going through those applications every day. So we'll continue to provide updates with every meeting that we have as well.
I guess, Jesse, we do have a question online here. Is there a standard form for the delegation similar to how there is for the MSGP?
Right, so the answer is going to be no. The way those duly authorized representatives are designated is not traditionally with using a form, but through the user permissions through NetMS4. So the same portal that you use to submit an application, if you have somebody there who is designated as a representative, they are considered the duly authorized representative. So it's through the user permissions through NetMS4. It would be the short answer. Yeah.
All right, thank you. We got another.
Follow up then. So does that then apply? Because I know that the reports were still being filed by hand for 2024. So does that still apply to authorize the representative online, but then submit the paper report?
Right.
Okay.
That's correct.
Any other questions for that one? All right, I think that's it for now.
Then MSGP next.
It's the Phase 2. You already included that in there. Okay, yeah, got it. Yeah, so go ahead and do the.
Great. So I can go ahead and move forward with the updates to the multi-sector general permit. This is TXR 050,000. The 2026 renewal in specific. His general permit regulates the stormwater discharges from industrial activities and expires on August 14th of 2026. So later on this year. TCEQ initiated the 2026 renewal of the general permit and is currently in the adoption phase of the general permit renewal process. This general permit underwent a 30-day public comment period from November 14th through December 15th of 2025. The notice was published in the Houston Chronicle and the Texas Register on November 14th. A hybrid in-person and virtual public meeting was held on December 15th on 2025 at the TCEQ headquarters agenda room. As a result of the public comment period, TCEQ received 9 comment submissions and were compiled into 13 different separate comments. TCEQ is currently in the process of carefully reviewing every comment individually in preparation for a response to comments document to go along with the draft general permit. Following the development of the response to comments document, TCEQ is currently moving forward with management briefings in preparation for the adoption. The general permit is tentatively scheduled to go to Commissioner's agenda for consideration for adoption in late July, more specifically July 15th of 2026. The draft permit and supporting documents will be made available at least 8 days prior to the agenda in the Commissioner's agenda's webpage as part of the agenda backup document. And for some clarification as well, generally I do also provide a list of updates. I'll go ahead and include those in the meeting minutes for this meeting as well, so you guys will have a full list of those. But those are all the updates that I have for the MSG.
Any questions? All right, not seeing any. So I guess.
Okay.
Brandon's up next.
Yeah, so again, I'm Benjamin Dixon. I'm also filling in for Rebecca today. Sorry, I feel like I'm ignoring y'all in the back, but I'll try to speak up so y'all can hear me. But yeah, on our third main stormwater general permit, we have the 2023 construction general permit, also known as TXR 150,000. This general permit regulates discharges of stormwater associated with construction activities, and construction support activities. The general permit is scheduled to expire on March 5th of 2028, 5 years after the issuance date. So our team has initiated the renewal process for the 2028 construction general permit. Right now, we're in the very first stage, which is the concept or development phase of the renewal process. So we always start that around 2 years before the renewal. One of the first major steps we took is internal outreach that we sent to several relevant program areas within TCEQ. Based on any feedback we get from them, as well as our own team, we'll begin to develop preliminary changes to the permit for the upcoming renewal. We also did, as part of this renewal outreach process, send outreach emails to contacts for all of our regulated phase 1 and phase 2 MS4s in the state to obtain feedback from them as well over the CGP renewal. All of the MS4s do work closely with the CGP under the minimum control measure for construction site stormwater runoff control. So we thought that they might have some good feedback for any proposed changes. Coming up, TCEQ will hold a stakeholder meeting for the renewal of the CGP. Right now, it's scheduled for June 9th, 2026 from 1:30 to 4 p.m. In this room, the TCEQ Austin headquarters campus, Building F, room 2210. There will also be a virtual option for attendance of the stakeholder meeting. During the meeting, we will discuss any preliminary proposed changes we have to the general permit in a presentation. We'll gather further input from any stakeholders attending the meeting. As well as after the meeting, stakeholders will have 2 weeks to submit further comments for any proposed changes or feedback. After the stakeholder meeting and we get all of the feedback that I've mentioned, we will continue the concept phase, which would entail drafting the proposed permit. Once the draft permit is finished, it'll be sent to EPA for a 90-day review of the draft proposed permit, and that is tentatively scheduled for the fall of 2026. That's pretty much all I have on that one.
Okay, we've got a couple of online questions. One is for both the MSGP and the CGP. Are renewal applications for both of these permits going to be via EPA net or STEERS?
So for both of these general permits, all the applications are submitted through STEERS. I do also want to add a note. None of the renewal applications will be available until after the expiration of the general permits. Any applications submitted prior to the expiration will also expire with the general permit. So if you send in an application with the intent to renew the day before the expiration of the general permit, it will unfortunately expire the following day or after the 90-day renewal period.
And back on the MSGP, is the MSGP expected to be reissued by the current permit expiration date?
Right. So at the moment, we are on time with the renewal and everything should be effect and, ideally signed into effect by the expiration of the current general permit.
Right. Any questions back here on either of those permits?
It's the stakeholder meeting. It's a little different from the public meeting, but it's scheduled for June 9th of this year, 1:30 to 4 p.m., and it'll be in this room.
Any others? Okay. All right, well, now we can move on to the last group of updates we want to provide, updates on rulemaking. And I'll provide the first one for the CAFO rule petition topic. So TCEQ received a petition for rulemaking from Oberon Fuels Incorporated on January 12th, 2026. The petition requested the commission to amend 30 Texas Administrative Code, Chapter 321, which concerns control of certain activities by rule, and Subchapter B, which is for concentrated animal feeding operations or CAFOs. The petitioner specifically requests to amend Section 321.39 to allow for the disposal of animal mortalities in any liquid manure or processed wastewater system that has been approved by the executive director for that use. And currently 321.39 prohibits that particular activity. The rule petition was presented to the commissioners at the March 11th, 2026 agenda meeting, where they decided to grant the petition to initiate rulemaking, which will include, of course, a public participation component, like all public rulemaking processes. And the Water Quality Division is in the process of developing a schedule for the rulemaking process and will provide further details once the schedule is finalized. So any questions about the rule petition? Okay, seeing and hearing none. One last rule update for design criteria rules with Bridget.
All right. So I'm going to provide a quick update for chapter 217 and then a couple extra notes. So TCEQ is currently still in the ongoing process of making revisions to the design criteria requirements for wastewater treatment systems in 30 TAC chapter 217. So again, just kind of an overview. The initial kickoff meeting was held way back in November 2020. Comments from stakeholders were submitted for consideration the following year, November 2021. Multiple stakeholder meetings were held throughout 2023 and 2024. And comments from each of those meetings were considered with these proposed revisions. And they were included in the draft of the rule revisions and preamble. And I am actually pleased to announce those were finally submitted back to our Environmental Law Division for the next down of their reviews as of March 31st, 2026. So we finally got a little bit of movement on that. And as a reminder, those revisions included making changes to subchapter C for collection system requirements, particularly expanding the section on reclaimed water distribution systems. Also updating the emergency power requirements for critical components of both the collection systems and the wastewater treatment facilities, adding new requirements for nutrient removal, and then again, moving chapter 222 subchapter D for subsurface area drip disposal systems into chapter 217 as a new subchapter I and completely repealing chapter 222 subchapter D. So we are currently waiting to hear back from legal on their next round of comments on the rule. And of course, we will keep you all updated. I just wanted to add a couple of side notes on submitting stuff. We actually are trying to implement a change of the plans and specification submittals to the division. We are just asking that permittees, when they submit paper rolls, if they could also submit a digital copy, preferably on a flash drive. Just go ahead and submit that to us. We're trying to streamline our record keeping process and reduce paper accumulation within the division. If you don't want to submit a flash drive, you can also submit them electronically to the TCEQ. And this is also an update agency-wide. That FTPS portal is actually going to become obsolete as of April 15th, which is tomorrow. So there's going to be a new thing people can submit stuff by. It's called TCEQ Send. It's pretty straightforward, but the one major change is that the TCEQ customers, there's no method for external users to log in. You're going to have to get a TCEQ employee to email you a request with a link for you to upload any sort of documents you want to send. So that FTPS portal is going away. And again, you'll have to be, authenticate via email or receiving file requests, secure messages, or if you need to drop some files into the file drop. So again, if you're wanting to send documents via the portal, just go ahead and reach out to a TCEQ employee and they should be able to provide you with the link to upload documents.
Okay. Thank you, Bridget. Any questions on that?
anytime we need to upload a document, we need to email TCEQ to get the link, or is that a link that?
Yeah, because currently you go to the FTPS and you log in and then you put your documents and then it sends an email. Now the link to do that is going to be provided by an internal employee. So you can just reach out to them and say like, hey, I want to send you something, and they should be able to just give you a link that you just click in, drop your files, same thing. But you won't need to create like your own login.
Okay, well, guys, I see.
So online question, can we reach out to any TCEQ employee to get access?
I would say reach out to the employee you're trying to submit documents to.
So
But
maybe-
yeah, everyone should know how to use that.
Yeah. And there's a comment from someone that said the link will only be good for about 2 weeks and then you'll need to get a new one or fresh one after that. So that's
Correct, which is in line with how it is
right.
currently.
Yeah. The other questions?
Questions unrelated to that.
Yeah, sure. We'll go ahead and shift to the final Q&A part.
So this may be a question that's better posed to Amy Sedemeier, and I'm happy to visit with her, but we've had a handful of wastewater enforcement cases, and typically, as we've negotiated those, as we've had for many years, we were able to get the investigation reports from agency staff, but recently we've been pointed toward putting in a Public Information Act request to get that information. And so my question was going to be whether anyone's aware of an agency policy change on sharing that information. I know the enforcement team wants to move expeditiously as they can on resolving these cases, but going through the PIA process, of course, adds an additional element of time. And so happy to raise that separately with Amy, but I thought while we had the group here, I would ask the question.
I'm not familiar with the OC process for their PIRs. So yeah, I would definitely bring it up with them.
Yeah, I don't know either. So
Amy and I
Probably best to-
every other week calls. So,
Yeah, probably a better source there. Sure. Any other questions?
Made after the fact on one of the, I couldn't remember if it was the produced water land application or the LNG permitting. You said it was going
It's the produced water one, and I think that it was supposed to be this summer. I think I said initially summer of 2027. It's supposed to be summer of 2026.
to adoption.
Yes.
Last call for questions?
Follow up on that, actually, I'm sorry. So I had in my notes from the last meeting that it wasn't going, that same the land application, that it was the proposal, the commissioners will review this summer and then final also this summer, or final the following? Shannon,
I don't know, Shannon, are you on that you can help answer that question?
I'm not sure.
Yeah. Hi, I'm sorry, I'm on. Hi, you guys. Could you please repeat the question? Which rulemaking are you asking about?
so we're asking about the implementation of SB 1145.
Sure, we've got two rulemakings for that. We have the current one, or Mike talked about both of them. The first one was for the amendment of the memorandum of understanding that we have with the Railroad Commission under section 7.117. That one, we are hoping to take it to proposal this summer and take it to adoption next summer of 2027. The other rulemaking that we are working on is the one to amend chapters 309 and chapters 210. That one we are taking to proposal at Commissioner's agenda this upcoming April 30th, 2026. And we are hoping to take that one to adoption late summer, this summer.
Perfect. That's why I got a little fuddled as this the two. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Shannon.
No problem. Thank you.
Any more questions? All right, not seeing any others online either, so I think we'll go ahead and wrap it up, but just reiterate a few announcements that are on the agenda here. Of course, our next meeting, next quarterly meeting will be July 14th at 1:30 here in the same room. And also the upcoming environmental trade fair and conference of the agency will be on May 19th, 20th in San Antonio at the Henry B. Gonzalez Convention Center. If you need any more details on that, there's a link there you can click on in the agenda. And then just reiterate what Benjamin was saying about the construction general permit stakeholder meeting, June 9th in this room, 1:30 p.m. So that's all the announcements I have. Certainly appreciate everyone who came in person, and those of you who participated online. Appreciate your ongoing involvement, and hope everyone has a good rest of your afternoon. Take care.